Hey friend, I'm Brandon Gustafson. I help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. Excited to have you on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to get certified for Medicaid as an assisted living provider. So if you need some help with that and need some understanding there, make sure you stick around for today's video. Hey, welcome back. Before we get started, I want to remind you to go grab the free underwriting calculator at assistedlivinginvesting.net. It's going to be a tool that helps you determine if you have a profitable investment or not. So make sure you go and grab that. Again, it's assistedlivinginvesting.net. Now let's get into the topic of today's video. We're talking about how to get certified as a Medicaid provider for assisted living. Medicaid is something that a lot of people, they just steer clear of. They don't want anything to do with. And Medicaid can be scary. There's a lot of rules and regulations that go into it. I'm already working in healthcare that's already highly regulated, and Medicaid adds some complexity to that. But it's also not that bad. It's not that scary, I promise. I have worked in healthcare for over a decade and have a lot of experience actually in government programs, including Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare Advantage, a lot of these different programs, and can really help you understand them. So if you are interested in learning more about Medicaid, stick around, number one, but also type in Medicaid down below so I can see, what is it that you need the most help with. So type in Medicaid and I'll follow up with you on a comment. We can see what we can do to help you out. Now let's talk number one about Medicaid. What is it? Medicaid, it's a federally funded program that is administered at a state level. So the federal government, they say, okay, we are going to allocate $1 trillion to Medicaid this year. We're going to split that up to the different states based off of their population, and then the state gets those funds. So the state gets $1 billion, whatever, and they then go to legislature and they say, okay, we have $1 billion for Medicaid. That's our Medicaid budget. How are we going to use that money here to make sure we're serving people? And it has to cover everybody that does with Medicaid. So it's not just assisted living, but people that are on food stamps or WIC, or that need help in other areas of life, or children who are in the foster care system, or an underserved population, or people that don't have a lot of money. They all qualify for Medicaid. And so they have to say, okay, we have $1 billion. How are we going to allocate all of this money? One of the things that they're going to be doing is allocating funds for assisted living through different waiver programs. So some waivers that you could see are elderly, blind, and disabled, which definitely fits into the assisted living realm, or it could be like a mental health type of a diagnosis. This is actually what we deal with in our Colorado facility. Are those two waivers often are the specific ones that we're working with. But at its core, Medicaid is really designed to help low income or underserved populations get the benefits and things, the support that they need so they can live healthy, happy lives. That's at its core why we have Medicaid. So the department that does the certification process for Medicaid is going to be different from the licensing agency at the state. Typically, it's going to be somebody that has to do with welfare. So health and welfare services, those are the types of things that you could be looking at as you're trying to put that all together and get your certification with Medicaid. That's who you're probably going to be working with. Now let's talk about how do Medicaid payments actually work. And there's a lot of confusion on this. With Medicaid, you actually get paid twice, which is kind of cool. So you get paid directly from the resident themselves from their Social Security income. You get to collect a certain amount. The state will tell you you can collect X amount of money, and it's generally a percentage of their Social Security, and it's a large percentage. They keep typically like 10 to 15%, and you collect the rest of it. So you're getting 85-90% of their Social Security income, because you're paying, when you think about it, like it seems like a lot, right? But when you think about it, you're paying for their food and their lodging and everything that they really need, you're paying for. And they have insurance in place to take care of their medications and things like that. So they don't really need a ton, and so they get to keep a little bit for personal things that they want to buy. But at its core, you get to collect the majority of that Social Security income. The second way you get paid is through a daily rate for Medicaid. And so you get that waiver, is that elderly, blind, and disabled waiver. You go through a case management company who works with the people at the state, and they say, yep, the daily rate for this person is $100 a day. And so you get to bill $100 every single day that the resident is inside of your facility. So in a 30-day month, that's $3,000. And then if you get to collect $900 from their Social Security, that's $3,900. these are real numbers. Like those are very realistic. We actually get daily rates that are in the $150 to $180 range. So you can get really high rates with Medicaid, but that's how you do it. The other nice thing about Medicaid is that daily rate, you can actually bill it as frequently as you want to. So if you wanted to bill every week or every other week, you are able to do that. They only pay out on certain cadences. They'll only pay out like once a week, but you can bill as frequently as you want. So we typically bill twice a month. So we get consistent income coming in every month. We get a chunk of 20,000 and another chunk of 20,000 and another chunk of 20,000. And it just really helps out from a cash flow perspective with the business to make sure that we have everything that we need to run the business, to pay payroll, to buy groceries and all of those things, and not run into any financial issues. I'll also say that the rate that you get paid for Medicaid, so that daily rate that you get paid, it is going to be, number one, set by the state, by the legislature, but number two, it's also going to be given based off of the amount of care that you provide. So in a lot of states, you can actually raise your Medicaid rates based off of demonstrating that you are providing more care. This is why it's so important to document care. Number one, it's required by law that you have to provide documentation for the care that you provide. But number two, if you're showing that, 3 months ago, we only had to help them out, go to the bathroom, once a week, and we prompted them, once or twice a month to get dressed. But now we have to toilet them every single day, 3 times a day, and I have to physically dress them rather than prompting them. They are declining significantly, and I'm doing a lot more work, so I should get reimbursed for that. So as you can demonstrate that type of data, the type of care that you are actually providing, and you can demonstrate it because you've tracked it, then you can raise those rates. You can also do that through assessments with the different nurses that you have inside of your facility. When they come in and they do an assessment on a resident, they can say, yes, they've declined, and now they need XYZ in their care plan, and then you can submit that and you can raise your rates there. So this is how you raise Medicaid rates. It's something that not a lot of people realize you can do, but it is entirely possible, and you can bump those rates up. This is why Medicaid is, honestly, I think it's the best kept secret in assisted living, because a lot of people are scared of it. They don't know how to handle it, but in reality, it's not that hard, and you are serving a population that really, really needs these services, which is also super rewarding, rather than catering to the the high-end $10,000 a month person. And there's definitely a spot for that, and if that's you, that's what you want to do, then that's cool. Like, I can still help you out with that, but I also want to point out that you can still do really well through serving a Medicaid population. You just kind of have to understand how to navigate all of that as you get into this. Another added complexity, if there's not already enough with Medicaid, is sometimes there's third-party administrators. Sometimes you work directly with the state, you bill the state processes things, they get it back to you. But sometimes they realize, hey, we're government, we're not efficient, we don't want to pay a staff member to do this, and then it's high turnover, we have to train them over again. So they will contract out with insurance companies, insurance payers, and those payers, they have what's called an MCO, a managed care organization. And those MCOs, they basically process all of the claims for Medicaid in a specific spot. Sometimes there's contracts that are state-based, some are county-based. It just kind of depends. There's different MCOs throughout the nation in who you're working with. But when you get into this world of MCOs, you have to actually contract directly with them. It's not a hard process at all. It's not like getting certified for Medicaid. It's just a contracting process. And then you bill them directly through their portal and work directly with them. Some of the MCOs are great. They're super easy to work with. Others are more difficult, just like anything. So it just kind of depends. In Idaho, we actually are contracted with 3 versions of Medicaid. There's the state-based there, and then there's 2 MCOs, Blue Cross of Idaho and Molina. And then in Colorado, there's just one MCO, one third-party administrator. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head, but that's who handles everything. And so we just contract directly with those people. They ingest the claims, and then they process them, and then they pay them out. It's actually a process. I did that. I was a claims processor for an MCO on a Medicaid contract, so I understand a lot of exactly how that process works and everything that goes into it. So another reason why I'm not scared of Medicaid at all is I've lived in that world. I know exactly what to expect. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to get certified as a Medicaid provider. The application process is going to actually look pretty similar to what you're doing when you go through the process to get your facility license. There's a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of forms and things like that. They're going to need a lot of the same types of things. So there's, number one, going to be this application form. Typically, it's like 2 or 3 pages. It's not long at all. Basic information, facility info, your license number. You do have to have a facility facility license to become certified and contracted with Medicaid. So that is something you have to do. You cannot do this as an unlicensed provider. You have to be licensed if you want to go and serve a Medicaid population, because you're going to have that facility license number, your proof of insurance. You're going to need bank information. Something that I learned, and this is something I teach in the mastermind program. So if you need some help and you want some guidance, go check out alimastermind.com/application, apply, and see if it's a good fit for you. But I tell you all the secrets in there about everything, and I help you through the process. Now, the one thing that I learned as I went through this process, it took us about 4 months to get certified as a Medicaid provider in Colorado. And that was because of paperwork issues and just them taking forever to process everything. I learned a lot from that experience. And then when we went to go get certified in Idaho, it took us less than a week. So I shrunk a 4-month period of time down to 1 week. And I can help you do the same thing as you're trying to get certified with Medicaid. So if that's something that you need help with, check out the mastermind program. Again, it's alimastermind.com/application to go and apply for that. You're going to need to also apply for specific waivers. And that application is, there's boxes on the form that you fill out and you say, we want to do this one, we want to do that one. Again, I'll mention the waivers that we serve specifically for our facilities are elderly, blind, and disabled, and mental health. Each state may have different waiver names. Those are the ones that are actually the same in Colorado and Idaho, but they may call them something different in your states. If you just want to look at them, if you're like, I don't know exactly what that is, you could reach out to the person that does the contracting at the organization, or you could just look it up online and figure out what those specific waivers are and what population they're going to serve, to make sure that it aligns with you and who you want to be working with and who you want to serve in your facility. Now, as you work through all of that process, you get everything in there, you're going to submit it, and then you're going to wait to get approved. And like I mentioned, it could take a week. I figured out how to do this the right way, and it took us only about a week, maybe a week and a half to get everything done. Or in Colorado, it took us 4 months to get certified. But it was not entirely their fault. I will put some of the blame on them. There was some things that I was missing, though, and their application process was really not all that well written, and it was confusing as to what I actually needed to provide them with, and trying to get a hold of them on the phone was a joke. So it's a long story. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but if you are interested in learning more about that, type in application process down below, and maybe I could do a little video on exactly my experience and exactly what that looked like. So application process, if you'd like to hear a little bit more about that. Now, once you receive that certification, once you are certified as a Medicaid provider, you're contracted with them, you do have to maintain that certification. It's an annual certification. Oftentimes what you're going to have to do that is you go and they do online trainings that you have to attend. A few of them a year, doesn't take very long. They're webinar style types of things. You're also going to need to reproduce things like your insurance, your proof of insurance, bank info, maybe potentially just look at the entire application that you submitted initially and update anything that needs to be on there, addresses or anything like that, mailing info. It's really a pretty simple process to maintain that certification. Once you have it, you just got to make sure that you don't let anything lapse, and that way you don't have any payment issues, and you just kind of keep things up to date. So the more consistent you are doing that, the better off you're going to be. You also have to just make sure that you stay in compliance with that certification as a Medicaid provider. You cannot mistreat your residents. You have to make sure that you care for them, provide them adequate care, that you're following their care plans, that you're doing everything that you need to do there, and you need to work with the Medicaid payers as requested, and make sure you get them any information that they request. Sometimes they want paperwork on specific residents. They do their own audits and things like that. So you have to just make sure that you are doing that. Document everything, absolutely everything. You gotta document it. Now, if you found all of this to be helpful, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell as well so you get notified every time we do content like this. We do lives on Tuesdays. We put out content on Thursdays as well. I love getting out there, helping people. If you need a free resource, go grab, I got links down below, like a ton of them, but go grab the free underwriting calculator, assistedlivinginvesting.net. Or if you want some help and some guidance as you're trying to move through this process and really need somebody to hold your hand and help you through it, go apply to the mastermind program, alimastermind.com/application. I love helping people and giving you guidance to help you make some progress to reach your goals and your dreams. And to recap what we've been talking about, again, it's been all about getting certified with Medicaid. We talked about exactly what Medicaid is. We've talked about how do Medicaid payments work and getting paid twice, which is a really, really cool part about Medicaid, and why you shouldn't be scared of it. We also talked about how to get certified, what that process is like, and then maintaining that certification as well for the long run. Does residential assisted living sound interesting to you, but you're not sure how to get started? At Assisted Living Investing, I'm here to help beginners like you launch their assisted living business in the next 12 months. I want to thank you for watching, and remember, it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Keep going step by step by step, and I promise you, if you do and you're consistent and persistent, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.